Today I'm meeting Singaporeans who study in Japan but choose to leave. Not because Japan was bad, but because their times there changed how they saw both countries. A lot of my viewers, they wish they can live in Japan.
Job prospects wise, Singapore's economy is doing better.
It's something to do with the idea of a culture, the idea of history, and there's so much pride in that.
If you like more of the community aspect of it, Japan might be a better fit.
So what was it really like? Let me summon them to find out. Yes, I do have that special ability. All right.
Singapore 来了!
Wow, you guys seem hardcore Japanese, huh?
皆さん、はじめまして。リオンと申します。シンガポール人なんですが、日系企業で勤めております。よろしくお願いします。
やば。日本人やん。
そんなことないです。
発音からそしてこの You keep on bowing when you're talking.
It's natural.
はい、皆様、はじめまして。一応名字はタンなんですけれども、シンガポール人の中ではタン非常に多いのでジェンと呼んでください。よろしくお願いします。
I feel embarrassed because they are much more Japanese than me. Even look at Jen-san. She dressed like a Japanese OL style.
No, this is my natural. I wear these all the time.
Okay, now let's chat over some hawker food. I want to find out what I, Japanese person, will order versus you guys. Leon and Jen is really like Jipuna. They leave their bag like that. Japanese tourist behavior, not SG. I need to scold them later. So there was a stall I wanted to try in. It's this one.
Let's go find some dessert.
I found my Hokkien mee, guys.
Jen-san, is this a joke? Lunch, right? 本当に日本のオイルみたいな。
So I just got my favorite Singaporean food, which is fried Hokkien mee.
And for me, I got the gyoza because Jipunlang love gyoza. We cannot live without it. Oh, so meaty. So first, which university you go to?
So I was from Osaka University.
One of the top universities in Japan. So 4 year?
4 years, yep. Yeah.
Study what?
I was studying biology.
I studied at Nagoya University, Japanese history.
What made you interested in Japanese culture in the first place?
I guess the answer is quite normal, but it was anime. So when I was
What
young,
anime?
my first anime was Digimon.
Ah,
If anybody-
Digimon.
yeah.
What was that song again?
無限大な夢の後の
What are some of the early culture shocks?
For me, the culture shock was more related to technology. I mean, a lot of people have the idea that Japan is very advanced, right? But then when it's time for me to do my paperwork, I have to fax things in. I was very confused. Everything is handwritten. You have to mail it. You must be physically present. You can't sign. You have to use a stamp, like the hanko. So it was very, like a bit backwards to me in that sense.
Why is there operating hours for ATMs? Like, why do I have to pay money to use an ATM after hours?
I had a reverse culture shock. In Singapore, well, no need to pay.
Yeah.
So good. So in Japan, if you want to withdraw money, especially during the weekend, you gotta pay like $2 lah.
Yes, just to get your own money out.
Funny, right?
Yeah.
How would you say universities are different in Japan versus Singapore? Because in Japan, we typically say you don't really study. Some people do, of course, but you don't have to. I didn't study much. I just went there to enjoy.
I completely agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends seem to think that it was, playtime basically.
So maybe it's good for Singaporeans who want to enjoy life, actually.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
You can get a good degree. If you go to a good university like them, you can get a good degree and you don't really have to study. I mean, of course, I want to be very careful. It really depends on your school. It depends on your major, but that's like typical thing lah.
I hear a lot from my Singaporean friends that every day is studying.
We didn't have the same opportunities like in Singapore to do internships because in Japan, the idea of internship was like a one-day shadowing.
Yeah. It's not really.
It's not an internship.
Yeah, that's not an
it's not.
internship. So like in Singapore, people have like a CV before they graduate.
Some internship only 2 weeks, right? In Japan.
Yeah.
Singapore, no.
At least 2-3 months probably.
So as I age, I understand why Japan is like this. The students really don't study. I understand why. It's because we focus on different things, I think. Singapore, they focus on like your real ability, your real knowledge. But in Japan, it's typical to join something called sakuru, which are club activities. That's where you make your friends, you hang out like all the time. I used to join a wind ensemble club. So 3 times a week after class, like 6 to 9 p.m., we will play together. And it has nothing to do with what I study and stuff, but I learned how to interact with someone older than me, someone younger than me. Communication skill. In Japan, really value that. I feel like Singapore is more study.
I always hear from people that Singapore values soksenryoku. You are expected to start doing a job from day one.
Correct.
So you have to really be on your game before you even join. Whereas in Japan, they hire you based on sort of like your potential, right? How good of a team player you are.
Teach you.
Yes.
Correct.
And then they train you from the beginning.
It's like an extended school almost.
Yeah, almost.
Like everyone starts on the same day.
Yeah. April 1st.
Yeah. So
Important.
that's like, to me, it's like, oh, basically it's another school year. Just started, right? But now everyone reports to not school but a company.
It's interesting if you think of it. That's why like a lot of Japanese, we don't really hop jobs. We join this like a big family. We drink with them, we eat with them, we really become family. サークル入ってました？
サークル僕は入ってませんでした。バリバリ研究だけ。
私はですね、弓道部。もう
弓道部。
体育会系弓道部。
Well, you must have a lot of culture shock.
I went in with the intention to learn to make friends, and then everything they said was Japanese culture.
You do this how many days a week?
Official practice, non-season is 3 times on the weekdays and 1 Saturday compulsory. But then you're also expected to do your own practice in your own time. Many of my Japanese friends would actually skip class to practice because...
Well, never happened in Singapore.
No, never, right? Never. So I was like, oh my god, how are these people like shooting like 100 arrows a day?
My Singaporean viewers don't understand how it's military like. Some say stricter than military.
I've never been to NS, I cannot speak to that. But essentially, it's all the very traditional Japanese culture aspects. Like, you get a whole printed copy of all your seniors, upperclassmen's names, pictures, what they study. And you have to go and greet them individually. Yes, and you have to remember it. After you have introduced yourself to them, every subsequent day after, if you see them on campus, you are obligated to run to be right in front of them. You cannot call them from the side, you cannot call them from behind, you cannot touch them.
Rude.
It's rude. You have to run to the front, and if senpai is sitting down, you have to go lower than them. If we go to like a kompa, a party, right? First years are not allowed to eat per se because we have to serve everybody. We have to cut and serve, and it has to be nice. You cannot spill anything. We had to put on a performance to entertain our seniors. And when you kampai, when you cheers, your cup has to be lower than your seniors.
Yeah. So what Jen-san is saying is actually pretty normal. Like I'm not really surprised because it's quite standard. Would you say like you absolutely hated it, or did you find some like value in that?
I mean, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? They told me this was Japanese culture, so I said okay, and I did it, which is actually very helpful for me right now. So in a work environment, everyone abides by the same norms. So I learned that a lot of these experiences were very transferable.
What's something like Japanese you still do?
空気読む, how to read the air. One of my biggest takeaways that I still use now is being able to anticipate what is needed.
Actually, a very handy business skill, I feel like. Huh?
I think Singaporeans in general are very impatient people. We want to see it now.
Fast.
Convenience, efficiency, everything.
Okay.
But within a Japanese environment, it's not really about that. Just being more patient, for both better and worse, to know your place, to know how to be humble, to learn from others, instead of trying to lead everything, be number one in everything. Like if it's not ranked, it's not worth doing, that kind of gyasunas. In Japan, it's not that, right? In Japan, even if it's inefficient, we do it together and there's value in that. And that's a totally different way of thinking. One of my biggest culture shocks, seniors have to pay for everything for juniors.
Singapore, no?
No, not so much. But in Japan, when I joined the club, I think for like a whole year, I never paid for food. You know, after practice, we go for convenience store, we go to dinner, the kompas, like even karaoke. Seniors will keep paying, and then it sounded like a good deal when you're in year 1.
But you're gonna have to.
And then in year 2 you have to pay.
Yeah.
And then when you're in year 3 you have to pay for year 2s and year 1s, and your year 4s you pay for the whole club. So at that point in time in Singapore, I was a bit more like, I don't want to owe people money. Like I will pay you back tomorrow. My seniors were like, no, we don't do that. You pay for your juniors.
As a Singaporean, which one do you prefer? Because there's pros and cons, right?
I prefer everybody just pay for themselves. You order what, you pay what. Then it's easier that way. Right?
Easier, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think I've said this multiple times. I'm vegetarian. And I have to say this because in Japan, as university students, you have like these like nomikais, the parties, right?
And what happened? You eat nothing,
Edamame. I paid 3,000 yen to eat edamame.
But weren't you too lonely when you studied in Japan? Not many Singaporeans, right?
For my first year, I was actually in Tokyo University of Foreign Studies. We lived in a dorm with all the other international scholars, so that
okay.
was really like the best year of my life, right? So many friends. But once I started going to Osaka University, and there were more, not many international students around, more Japanese classmates. I was the only foreigner in my class. I did start to get quite lonely. I still find it hard to this day because I feel like Japanese people always have like a distance.
Why do we do that?
I'm not sure.
so sorry.
There are many different
takes
theories.
time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It takes time to build up.
I also have a barrier right now. I don't know if you feel it. Physical and mental.
My teacher told me before I went to Japan that you'll be lucky if you went to Japan and came back with one friend. I ended up hanging out mostly with the international gang again.
In Japan, we say if you go to a sento together, which is a hot spring, you become real friends. Did you do that?
I did, and spoiler alert, we did not become real friends.
I think what the key is to have a real deep connection.
Yep.
You gotta go drinking numerous times.
Yes.
You gotta spend a lot of time together.
I think the drinking is very important, right?
What if you don't drink then,
So that's going to be very hard for you probably.
Sorry for being troublesome. I want to say on behalf of all the Jipung, we a bit weird.
It's okay.
I always wonder how Singaporeans become friends too. Because you don't really drink, but then you... First thing you can say, hey bro.
Yeah, you can just say, hey bro, and people are a bit more likely to start the conversation, keep the conversation going.
That's why I love talking to you guys, like it's more casual. I don't really have to think too much. In Japan, I feel like, I need to be very careful on certain topics but more chill here. How about you, Jen?
I think I was quite lucky that I actually made quite a bit of Japanese friends.
But then, here's where it gets juicy. Why you leave Japan? You say, Japan so nice, anime is so nice, the kyudo nice, why don't work in Japan? By the way, for context, they work at a Japanese company in Singapore.
I actually was so close to working in Japan. I bought the recruit suit.
Okay.
And the bag, the heels, the very oddly specific. There's so many rules. Your bag must be able to stand by itself, no logos, must have a zip, must be A4 size.
The hair must be long black.
And the skirt must be a certain shape, length. The shirt cannot be this color. There's so many things. So you have to buy it, all of them. However, male, female, usually men are, have had more opportunities at work. Older, younger, I was young. Japanese, foreign, I was a foreigner. So it's kind of like a triple whammy to stay, and I wasn't sure how long I would stay, whether I'll stay there my whole life. So I didn't want to get locked in at that age. One big round, came back to Singapore, worked for a Japanese company.
For me, I think, for better or for worse, I am still very Singaporean. So the Japanese shukatsu, finding a job, didn't really sit well with me. Like we mentioned just now, it's a lot of hiring for potential rather than expecting you to be able to do your job on the first day, which I didn't quite believe in. I thought it's a meritocracy, right? Hire me based on what I can do, not what I might be able to do in the future. And the other thing, it's a very tedious process, the whole job hunting thing in Japan.
It is.
And I feel that it's a lot of form and not much substance. So you go through 7 rounds of interviews, you have to do an SPI, there's a different test for every single company that you apply for.
But if you really love Japan, you don't mind going over that hurdle, no?
Maybe I didn't like Japan enough.
Wait, I want to go deeper. So is it because 4 years in Japan was enough? Or is it because of the salary? Obviously Singapore higher, right? What's the real
So in terms of salary, yes, definitely. Job prospects wise, Singapore's economy is doing better. The job hunting process wasn't great, and I didn't see much advantage to staying in Japan compared to just coming back to Singapore. I feel like how so-called unique I am, right? A person who can speak English in Japan is, there are a lot of international students, right? But somebody who can speak Japanese in Singapore, now that's more unique, right?
But a lot of my viewers, they wish they can live in Japan. You guys could have, but you chose to come back. Living in Japan isn't that great. And then?
Well, there are the good parts and the bad parts. For anybody who's thinking about it, do try, do give it a try, I think. And it really depends on, I guess, how Singaporean you are,
what you value.
What you value, yes, exactly. Yeah.
If you value money, come here better.
Of course. Yeah,
especially with the cheap yen and the strong FGD, right?
But if you like more of the community aspect of it, having a hierarchy, for example, being a little bit easier to understand, right? Having certain rules, and also if you are not the the Chongster kind, right? If you want stability, then yeah, maybe Japan might be a better fit.
You know, like I live in Singapore 7 years. I love it here, but sometimes I really miss like casually drinking with my superior and my friends. Like you know, like the izakaya,
Yeah,
the Japanese
of course.
bars below the train. Oh, it's so nice. Just
That's
like
really nice.
Singapore, where to? I look at price. I'm like, I want to leave already. What's something you miss about Japan?
Well, definitely the casual drinking is one. For me, number one on that spot is karaoke. I usually only sing Japanese songs, more specifically anime songs.
You should share about the Japanese karaoke culture. It's different, right?
Very different. In Japan, when you go for karaoke, everybody has one song and then you go around.
Yeah, you cannot sing other people's songs.
Yeah. Don't sing other
Does
people's
Singaporean
songs.
do that?
Yes.
We'll do together. We'll sing the whole room will sing it together.
Yeah, so
俺
every song.
空気読めてないですよ俺歌いたいだから入れてるんだよこの曲そしたら急に誰か入ってくる
はい
それ許せねえ So in Japan, right, you choose a song, you the only one who's singing unless you invite lah. Then like your other friends, they will do like this, huh? Then you feel like, wow, everybody's listening to me. Last time I sing in Singapore, nobody listened. They use their phone. They don't even do. Why?
If it's the Singaporean karaoke, you say, oh, I want to sing the song by myself, don't sing. I'll be like,
People will be
what's
like,
wrong with you,
why?
man? Yeah, you came to karaoke just to sing with us and then now you say you want to sing alone? Like, huh? Then don't invite us.
So I definitely miss, in a way, the quality of life.
Yeah.
Because in Japan, you can make a day trip or maybe just a 2-day weekend trip to Kyoto. If you want to look at the ocean, you can. If you want to look at the mountains, you can. There are seasonal things to do. And as a Singaporean, I did not understand seasons. Like I knew it in my head, but I didn't understand seasons until I got to Japan. Initially, it was kind of like, oh, but who decided we all have to eat this food today? But at some point, you really start enjoying this is something you can only do now.
You look forward to it.
Yeah, I look forward to because I love fall, so I would associate certain things with that season. Whereas in Singapore, it's like everything's just kind of the same every day. Like rain, don't rain.
A lot of Japanese, we say like, in Singapore, it feels like time passes very quickly because every day, as you said, feels the same. I don't remember what I did last year. But if you live in Japan, you feel like, oh, last year summer we went to Enoshima. Oh, winter we had hot pot at Hokkaido. Or like the memories stick better. I feel like.
Yeah, and you know what clothes you were wearing. I mean, on the flip side, it's good because in Singapore you just need one set of clothes. You don't
It's
need to
actually-
store things away and.
Very convenient.
Yeah.
So are you telling me you prefer 4 season versus Singapore's 2 season, the durian and non-durian?
Oh my God, durian lover here.
No offense, huh? Japan have, but
Not good.
now let's compare properly. What do you think Japan does better than Singapore?
It's something to do with the idea of a culture, the idea of history. In Japan, it's like so much of it is like, as a child growing up, you learn about things that Japanese people are supposed to do, how they should think, what you should wear, what you should eat. Like there's a kind of like reinforcement of something that's passed down. And there's so much pride in that.
Yeah, there is.
In Singapore, it's a bit more like subject to your own family, subject to your school. You might have an identity, but it's so multifaceted, right? Of course, I think Singaporeans also are very proud of our country, but it tends to be more like we're proud because we can travel everywhere and I have a strong currency, right? Like we're proud because we are ranked number 1 in the world for best airport, best zoo, best. Like we are proud of these things, not proud of like the environment or like the culture.
It's really challenging, isn't it? Because the race is diverse and you guys are new at the country.
Yeah, adding on to that point, it's also like how Japan is like a roman ga aru sakae. Right, like roman as in not like this ideals. It's kind of like not great to keep talking about money. And as a business, many, not all of course, but many businesses genuinely want to do good, want to serve the customers
Correct.
well.
Yeah.
And even if you're in service industry, no one's gonna really say like, look down on the occupation.
That's a very interesting point. Singapore is like, for me, coming from Japan, it's ultra capitalism motivated. It's not wrong, right? Japan also capitalism, but Singapore is like extreme. And that's why we don't see as interesting shops in Singapore. In Japan, you can find weird shops. Restaurant only giving out insect food.
Yes,
You probably went to some.
Yeah.
You can eat like a scorpion. And, like those Singapore, I think, difficult to find.
And like the education system itself, I mean, just to go back to our earlier point, in Singapore, it's like you study this for what? What job are you gonna get? What are you gonna work as in the future? But then my friends in Japan, like I have a friend who's just absolutely in love with math, and he's like drawing pictures like Miso donuts, 3D graphing it. Like that otaku culture is kind of a little bit more celebrated, I say. Like
Definitely.
you do what you want to do, and there's some space for that kind of subcultures. Whereas in Singapore, it's kind of like there's like one correct thing to do, sort of. I mean, now it's again they're trying to change it. There's more, variation, diversity now. But I think that's something that for the Singapore side, we're still quite big on like the cost benefit analysis, for as minimal effort, maximum reward. Whereas in Japan, it's more like I don't know something, it's fine. I can start from scratch, learn it. I may not be perfect at it, but that's okay because I like this.
Like, can you put it this way? Like, if you love making money, Singapore is better. But if you love to pursue your own passion, maybe Japan is better?
Maybe
It's like that.
Something that I really like about Japan is this idea of hodawari, the shokunin seishin, right? I cannot ever translate it into English. We don't have a word for that. It's like obsession, but not really obsession, because that sounds kind of bad, right? It's that devotion to your craft, pursuing just that one thing, right? If I'm making ramen my whole life, and no matter what anybody says, I'm going to make the best ramen that I can make. I don't care if I lose money. That shokunin seishin is something that I think Singapore is missing, because we don't judge things based on how much you put into it, but rather what have you achieved from that. It's always the means to an end. So it's like, I did so much and I got X amount done. But why don't you just do half of that and get the same amount done? But that's not the point of this whole shokunin thing, right? It's the amount of time and effort that you pour into it. Another thing that I think Japan does better than Singapore, because of the fact that it's very community oriented, right? There is a very high level of social awareness, situational awareness. My favorite example, trains. Before you get on the train, you let the people get off, then you get on the train, you move to the center part, and if you have a bag, you put your bag in front of you. All of that just to make sure that everybody has a pleasant ride.
Do Singaporeans appreciate that?
I think we appreciate it when we're there. And things are changing in Singapore as well. We see that in Singapore as well. But in Japan, it's way more like auto, right?
It's ingrained in you. Right now SMRT is having to do,
Stand up, Stacey.
It started with just the three of them. Stand Up Stacey, Give Way Glenda, and Move in Martin. Their mission was to create better rights for all.
We have these like campaigns, these characters trying to promote good practice.
Is it working?
I don't think so.
What will work in Singapore?
If you find them. That would definitely work, yeah. If your bag is behind you, $50. Everybody will immediately switch, confirm. But it's this kind of thing. Every time I'm looking inside the MRT that I couldn't get on, and there's so much space, and I'm just like, you couldn't like look and see that it's crowded and just move in a little bit.
Because they want to go out faster?
Yes, it's so weird. That's why it's very individualistic. I'm getting out the next stop, therefore I'm going to be next to the door. Everybody's getting off at the next stop, bro. It's an interchange. You're not special. Please, just move in. So that's one thing that I think we really need to learn from Japan. Just due to how Singapore was made as a nation, right? We had to be ultra individualistic, ultra competitive to survive.
I feel like Singaporeans are still a little bit more like, I will take care of my kaki lang. Like, I'll take care of my family. I'll take care of... But like other people that I don't know, maybe not. There's a little bit of that. Whereas in Japan, it's always like this mythical general society that you should be contributing to, like mutual trying to support each other.
Okay, you say Singaporean, they're too individualistic, right? But then when elderly come on, you guys all give up seat.
Yeah.
Japan don't happen, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm confused, like what's happening here?
We give up our seats because we're afraid of getting stomped. That's not, it's true, right?
Peer
like,
pressure.
Yeah, that was one thing that, and also because I guess they made it like a very obvious so-called rule. They put the signs everywhere that say, please give up your seat, don't sit here if you're not supposed to. So we follow rules given to us by the government, but we don't really follow like social rules in that sense. If it's not explicitly stated, we don't really care, and then that's where the sort of individualism takes over, I guess.
And what do you think Singapore does better than Japan?
I would have to say that Singapore does education maybe better. And this is, not to badmouth the Japanese education system, but I think I had not seen blackboards in a very long time until I went to Japan. It's still very much rote learning. You're following a textbook. Most people don't do group work, even in university. You're expected to learn that at work, while working.
Do you regret coming back to Singapore?
No.
No.
Hey, you guys speak perfect Japanese. I saw you have Japanese heart, huh? No hesitation, you said no.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I
なん
think.
でやねん。
Yeah, I mean, some part of us.
できんだよ、俺の動画。
申し訳ございませんでした。
I'm just kidding, go ahead.
No, no, but I think some part of us definitely does imagine ourselves, you know, what if we had stayed in Japan? I think at the end of the day, given the opportunities that we have here, I personally feel it's better. And also the fact that for me personally, my family is here as well. So I really value that. And also the social interactions part. I find it easier to be in Singapore and talk to my Singaporean friends rather than in Japan. So
I think for me, obviously family is very big, and I think no matter how much Japanese I learn, how many Japanese friends I have, I'm sorry, my taste buds are still Singapore. I really need my chili padi. Initially, when you first go there, it's great and all Japanese food is amazing, the ingredients are great. But by the second year, I'm just like, I want chili on everything.
Yeah. If you find a job that pays double in Tokyo, would you go?
Yes.
結局お金じゃん。
No, no.
お金じゃん。
No,
I wanted to get your real
no, yes.
金かい。
No, because if you pay,
彼もうなずいてたよ、さっき。行く行くって。
僕は行かないです。僕はシンガポールです。結局。
3倍は
3倍は考えます。
金
ご検討させていただきます。
やっと本音が引き出せた気がする。結局お金。
結局お金がでかいですね。は
By the way, do you know how my 承認給2013 18万。
No, sorry. That's
No, but at that time Sing dollar weaker, so
Yeah.
$2,100.
yeah.
Still no.
Even then, no way. That's one of the reasons why I didn't stay in Japan.
And finally, after living in Japan, how do you see Japan differently now compared to before?
It's this concept of Japanese culture, quote unquote, right? You know, I think most people would agree that wearing kimono is Japanese culture. But when you actually go there and if you define culture as something that people do, how many people are walking around in kimono? Being able to distinguish between the prescribed image of Japan that us foreigners have, and even in Japan you imagine that to be Japanese culture, but to go there and see how actually people are living lives kind of differently. There are regional differences, there's internal diversity, so there's actually that difference, and I enjoy learning more about different parts of Japan rather than just be like, I've been to Japan.
And did living in Japan change how you see Singapore?
We kind of take for granted that things should work. Things I should trust that things work. I just show up. You should not ask me for a visa. Like my passport gets me to places. I shouldn't be expected to do a lot of things. Like the convenience of it all. And then when you go to Japan, then you realize that a lot of these things actually, you know, we have it, like the infrastructure here is designed so seamlessly that we just take it for granted sometimes. Whereas in any other place, you would actually feel like there's a lot of different roadblocks that you have to navigate the bureaucracy of. And not to say Singapore doesn't have it, but we don't really know how good we've had it until like I speak to my Japanese friends who live here and they're like, wow, like, you know, what do you mean everything can be done from your phone? What is this SingPass thing? Like how is it that you can do all of these things?
It's amazing.
Right. But in Japan, it's like you have to do all the paperwork.
In Japan, people take every day, right, 1.5 hours to get to and from work, to and from school. So that convenience really is much more appreciated when you start living outside of Singapore.
Thank you guys. Take care. Bye. So I think what's interesting is that Japan can be a dream for many people, but once you live there, your view actually becomes very complex. And honestly, I think that's a good thing because that's when you realize what are your real priorities, what life actually suits you. Leon and Jen chose to leave Japan, but I know so many Singaporeans who choose to live in Japan. So now I'm curious, would you want to live in Japan? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, guys. Goodbye.